When Terrain Tamer decided that they were going to start manufacturing exhaust systems, they went to one of Australia's oldest family-owned exhaust manufacturing companies. Now, these guys have been doing it for around 60 years, so they have a wealth of experience. Terrain Tamer gave them this brief: guys, we want the strongest, the toughest, the best looking, the best functioning exhaust system that you guys can create for us. But we also want it to be really good value for money. We want it to be reasonably priced. And now Terrain Tamer have an ever-increasing range of exhaust systems available for our vehicles out there on the road. An exhaust has to operate in a fairly acidic environment, and that's because of the heating and cooling cycles it goes through. That builds up an acidic condensate inside the exhaust system whilst the vehicle's parked up, and that corrosion needs to be managed, and therefore the team have chosen a 409 series stainless steel. This stainless has a very high chromium content, and that allows it to resist that corrosion. Let's work our way through some of the other features and benefits of this exhaust system, starting with the manifold, or in this case it would be a turbocharger. At this point here, we adapt to that section of the vehicle, and then we run down and we've got two sections here where we can fit probes or sensors, an O2 sensor or whatever it may be, to the exhaust system that's on your vehicle. This section here, we call it the dump pipe. This area has also been increased in diameter as much as possible so that the exhaust gases can get away from the engine. That is going to give you a performance increase. You may have heard people talking about back pressure. You've got to have a little bit of back pressure on your exhaust system. Well, it's actually a misnomer. You don't want back pressure in an exhaust system. Once the exhaust gases exit the engine, you want to get rid of them. Now, there are a little bit more technical elements to that to do with scavenging and stuff, but for the most part, back pressure is not something you want. So by increasing the diameter of an exhaust system, you do improve the performance of your motor. And that's where this section of the exhaust system is increased as much as possible to give you that extra flow and allow the exhaust gases to escape from the motor. So once we come out of the dump pipe section, we then come through into a flexible joint. When your vehicle engine is operating, it obviously moves on the engine mounts, and it needs to be isolated from the exhaust system to some extent so that they can move in separation to each other without fatigue. And that's what this flexible joint is going to do. Now, inside that flexible joint, there is a stainless steel bellows that makes sure that the exhaust gases stay inside the braided outer housing of that bellows. Once we leave that joint there, we then come into this section here, which is our catalytic converter. And this is a Euro 3 high flow metallic 200 CPI catalytic converter. What does that all mean? Well, the Euro 3 means it complies to Euro 3 specifications, and the CPI means cells per square inch of surface area of the catalytic converter. And 200 is actually quite a low number of cells. But because this is a high performance, high quality catalytic converter, it's still going to be able to do its job of filtering out those harmful gases that we don't want getting into the environment. This exhaust system fits up using all of the factory mounting points, and where that's a big advantage is if you want to fit this exhaust system at home and you're a little bit handy with those mechanical tools, this is going to be quite an easy job. It's going to take you about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and this system will be running in your vehicle. Now, we all like to hear an engine that's got quite a nice little rumble to it or a little bit of an exhaust note. But we don't want a droney exhaust system or something that's overbearing and too noisy for those long trips on the open road. So having a good muffler is imperative. So some of the features of this muffler that Terrain Tamer have used are this. Firstly, they've got their Terrain Tamer logo embossed in the muffler, which is quite a nice little feature. Right through the muffler is a straight through pipe, but it's been perforated, and that allows the noise and such to be absorbed in the matting within the internals of the muffler, but it allows that high flow to flow through, and that gives us a really effective sound absorbing muffler system. We've also got some extra bracing at the flanges, and that makes sure that these tubes don't bust out of the end plates of the muffler when we're doing those corrugated roads that are renowned here in Australia at least. One of the other features is that the whole exhaust system has been painted with a heat-proof paint to give the system the protection it needs. Now, when you purchase this kit, it's going to come with everything you need to install it on your vehicle. So you're going to get your gaskets, you're going to get your nuts and bolts, and you even get 2 bungs for these ports. So if you don't need them in your application, you can close them off and make sure that the system works perfectly. So I hope that helps you understand how a Terrain Tamer exhaust system is going to give you an excellent product and give you excellent value for money for many, many years. I'm Mad Matt. Stay safe on the trails. Terrain Tamer have a 50-year-old promise to deliver quality engineered 4-wheel drive parts.